The network is cutting off from everywhere and every place in America. So explosions, destruction, and chaos are happening everywhere. And people are dying, and it's a big night that helped you, and then the whole network goes back to how it was before, but something happened. Of course, people are confused and surprised. What happened, and who is behind all this? At that time, you bring just one person, because a person who is always alone is literally the one who can figure out the solution to this problem and who caused it from the beginning, how and why this particular person. That's what I know, my friend, in today's video, so let's go. The series begins with the George Mullen. Currently, Mullen, my friend, is living a normal routine life like any person. He takes his medications and exercises to maintain his health because of his age, and the servant Victor always helps him and takes care of him. Anyway, the important thing is that now he sits and reads the news. So he sees a news report saying that his wife Sheila is very close to a significant position in the Court of Appeals. Generally, Molly prefers to live his life very normally until one day the journalist Annie visits him to encourage him to continue writing his autobiography, which he has been working on for a while. He is writing an autobiography because he is a very important and well-loved figure, and he is the only president who managed to garner bipartisan support. Then, the son of Rabat comes to talk with him to ask when he will finish. Until, Darasay, Annie asked him why he didn't run for a second term as president. His victory was certain. She also told him that, by the way, he mentioned reasons for not running, but they were not clear. This conversation troubled Molly because, my friend, he didn't run because his son Nick had died during the election nomination period. As a result, he became very angry and kicked Annie out with everything she had. Indeed, Annie left, got into her car, and called her manager to tell him everything that happened with that person. Everything was perfectly fine, but then it wasn't fine at all because suddenly her phone completely stopped working. Not just her phone, but the driver's phone also stopped. Suddenly, a message appeared on their phones saying that this situation would happen again. Without any warning, a train suddenly came and crashed into the car, destroying and exploding it, resulting in Annie's death. To all my friends, this happened because the train tracks didn't close due to a malfunction in the network. By the way, the issue didn't stop there. According to the news we have now, there was a widespread power outage, and the network also affected power grids everywhere in America. This caused all the computer systems that control transportation and communications to malfunction. Unfortunately, this has led to a very high likelihood of casualties due to the terrible accidents that occurred. Tires and cars and so on and so forth. All this news, and he's indeed absolutely extremely upset about all the numerous people tragically dying in front of his very own eyes. At that particular moment, by the way, his ultimate goal was to undoubtedly reach home. He becomes incredibly happy when he sees her because he was truly and genuinely afraid something might have happened to her. The next day, what? Moulin hears the news explaining that what happened was a cyber-technical attack called a zero-day attack, which cut off all communication systems in the entire country for a full minute. During this time, Roger, Moulin's secretary, also arrives. By the way, my friend Roger is the fiancé of Alex, Moulin's daughter, and Moulin considers him just like his own son. Anyway, when Roger came to Moulin, he informed him that President Mitchell, the president of the Republic, wants him to go to the rescue site now and talk to the people to reassure them because the public is very scared not knowing the attack source. Moulin initially rejected this idea because he didn't want to appear in front of the public again or grow his image. However, the man convinced him, so he got in the car with him and they went to the rescue site, which had a large number of protesters due to what happened. When they arrived at the complex, everyone was very angry to the point that they tried to attack the police, but Moulin reassured them and, with his wisdom, gave a speech to them, turning their anger into encouragement for him and the state. The next day, Moulin went to meet the head of state, Michel. At that time, Michel was very upset about what had happened and informed Moulin that the attack targeted all operating systems and software for exactly 1 minute. She also informed him that Congress is now forming a special investigation committee to find out who led this attack and why they did it in order to understand. Of course, this committee will have powers and authorities almost equal to or even higher than those of the president himself. And not only that, Michel informed Moulin that he would be the head of this committee. Naturally, Moulin was very surprised and told her that he was done with politics and did not want to return. She told him that everyone trusts him and that he is the most suitable person for this. So my friend Moulin was convinced and agreed. Omar returned home afterwards because today there is a big party at the house to celebrate his wife reaching a very important position in the Court of Appeals. At that moment, Moulin meets his daughter Alex and they chat for a while because they haven't seen each other for some time. By the way, his daughter Alex is actually a member of the US Congress, and she mentioned that she would vote against the formation of this committee because she doesn't want Yunus Safar's committee to be established. Her father didn't want to involve himself in what was happening because she believed he would be in the line of fire if anything went wrong. However, he didn't respond to her words and went to his friend who worked in intelligence. Through his secret work, he knew that The Russian intelligence had supported a group from New York. Hackers were breaching cryptocurrency wallets, stealing money, and sending it to the Russian embassy. He found out that the leader of all the hackers was named Felix, and he had servers and setups in a farm located in the city of Bronx, which he used for hacking or cyber attacks like the ones that happened earlier today. Let's take this information and go back home to sleep. But after a while, he received a call from his friend who said it was important, so Mullen started writing down everything his friend said. Specifically, we didn't see what he wrote, but we will find out again the next day, and exactly 3 days after the 0 day, we find Mullen stepping out to the press in front of his house gate, announcing that Congress had agreed to form a committee under his leadership. The strange thing was that while Mullen was talking to the journalists, he saw the journalist Connie, who was supposed to be dead, standing among them. He started to get very nervous because he knew she was supposed to be dead, so he began to suspect that she might not have died after all. Meanwhile, Bill was preparing himself to travel to the committee's headquarters on his private jet. Just as he was literally about to board the plane, he received another call from his friend, who this time confirmed that all the information he had given him the day before was 100% accurate. Morin excused himself from the meeting, saying he needed something important and would return. Once inside, he searched for his book with all his information. But he couldn't open the safe with the book as he forgot the combination. Taking longer, the police and security got worried and broke down the door. An even bigger problem was that Morin had some strange things, my friend, in the book. After he managed to open the safe and find the book itself, not only were the information he had written missing, but there were also strange words and sentences written in it. He became very anxious and told Roger that someone had switched his book. Now, Morin, like a madman, talks to Hector, his servant, to ask if anyone had entered his office and changed his book. But strangely, Morin can't find Hector and finds another young man instead. He starts yelling at him, asking, "Who are you and where is Hector?" At that moment, Sheila enters and shocks him by saying, "This is Wayne, and Hector retired 5 years ago. What's wrong with you, Morin? What's going on?" Morin, my friend, starts to feel dizzy and doesn't understand anything at all. He literally begins to feel like he's losing his mind. Eventually, he calms down and now goes to board his plane, moving with it along with the others who are with him. After a while, Mitchell talks to him and informs him that he has a 72-hour deadline to find out who carried out the attack on day of the line and to prevent any major problems. They will also consider Russia responsible for it without any evidence. Morin doesn't like this at all because there is still no evidence for what she's saying, but he tells her that he will try to find out the truth before the deadline ends. After a while, Morin and Roger finally arrived at the headquarters of this new committee. There, Carl and Melissa were there to welcome them. Melissa now wished for him to go in and encourage the committee staff. Indeed, Morin went in and told them, "Your country needs the best from you, and you are the best, so let's accomplish our mission." He gave them a couple of motivational speeches. "I am right," and then he left them. The important thing now is, did he hold a meeting with the committee leaders? And I asked, by the way, Carl showed a picture that was just taken by the cameras in front of an apartment in the Bronx. He now knows that this apartment is the main headquarters for a well-known group of hackers. But the strange thing is that all the members of this group have been completely erased. He now shows the picture of their leader and tells him that the facial recognition system is unable to identify this man's identity. But the second person is named Alex, and he is a well-known officer in Russian intelligence. Mullen asked them not to share this information with anyone until they confirm the identity of the person in the first picture. Then they can talk. After the meeting, the important person leaves the office, and at this moment, Roger came and told them that they found Annie dead next to the railway. My friend was surprised because he was supposed to have seen her yesterday, as we mentioned. Therefore, he asked Roger to investigate this matter and confirm whether Annie is really dead or not. Roger is a bit surprised, but says okay, and leaves. Now Roger goes to meet a London businessman who is very happy to see Roger and asks him to continue with this new committee and participate in its investigations. He also wants them to focus on Russia being responsible for the attack because, as a businessman, he would benefit greatly from it. Roger was then threatened and told, "If Mullen knows what I know, imagine what he might do." Roger became very scared and said, "I will do everything I can." He left to carry out Mullen's mission. To accomplish this mission, he goes to the morgue to make sure that Annie's body is still there, but he doesn't find the body, so he is shocked. On the other hand, Mullen was returning home, and there, Sheila was watching on TV that Kiter, a very famous tech company, is now offering to help Mullen with his investigation. But Mullen was not interested at all in Kiter's offer. By the way, Mitchell called him and revealed that she found out about what happened in the committee meeting in the morning, which he hadn't told her. What she learned was that a Russian officer appeared and is connected to what's happening. So now she is with Mullen because this is conclusive evidence. on Russia's involvement in the attack, but my friend Mullen told her that there is no evidence of Russia's involvement, but he has stronger evidence. Mitch told him, "You have 48 hours, and if you don't tell me anything new within that time, I will say that Russia is responsible for the attack and respond in kind." The next day, sir, Mullen gets up, takes his medication, and heads to the committee headquarters. There, Roger tells him that Annie's body turned out not to be in the morgue. So Mullen started telling him that he saw in the press conference that was held in front of his house, and therefore she might not be dead, so he wants to make sure. At that very moment, Congress President Dreyer was giving a speech, scaring everyone that another attack might happen, so everyone needs to be cautious. He also reassures people again, informing them that they have formed a special committee to monitor Mullen's committee itself. And not only that, the head of this committee is Alex, Mullen's daughter. When Mullen finds out about this, he gets a bit upset that his daughter... But he now asks Roger to go and meet Alex and talk some sense into her about what she's doing. Indeed, Roger goes to her house and tells her that this is not the right time to challenge her father. However, she gets upset with him and says, "I warned him from the start and asked him not to agree to the committee proposal from the beginning, but he didn't listen to me, so he deserves it." At the same moment, by the way, Mullen was able to gather a lot of information about the person who appeared in the photo through his contacts and connections. He now knows that his name is Patrick, and he gives this information to Carl, who immediately starts tracking his location. By the way, Patrick was at the port at that time trying to escape and didn't notice that Alex, the Russian officer, was following him. But it doesn't matter, because the committee had already pinpointed his location and captured him before he could reach it, so Alex tries to escape from the place. The shock came when, as he was escaping, another person came and ran him over with a crane, killing him. Meanwhile, Roger was now walking away from Alex and returned to his apartment. There, he finds a person from the Russian intelligence and another person who is the one who just killed Alex with the crane. The important thing is that this person told him that Russia has no connection to what is happening and that Officer Alex was only working with a group of hackers called the Brunoks. They now have documents proving all of this. They said that the committee has arrested Patrick and learned from him that someone else led this attack, not us. By the way, my friend Mitch Kite is also preparing to hold a conference to claim that Russia was behind this zero-day attack. Because Mullen had finished, but Roger took the fake documents, which are indeed fake, at that time, and quickly went to the committee, placed the documents, and convinced them to take the papers. Mullen knows what was written in them, and that the hackers were paid money before the zero-day attack, and the money was transferred from an account within America, not from Russia. And this account belongs to a terrorist organization called the Reapers. So my friend Mullen, when he heard these two pieces of information, sent Mitchell just seconds before she was about to say on television that Russia was responsible for this attack. When Mitchell learned all this, she immediately canceled the conference because she was convinced that Russia was not the cause. Meanwhile, Mullen and Taken were watching Green's broadcast, who constantly attacks him. And everyone is focused on Mullen, so Mullen watches Green from time to time. The important thing is that while Mullen is watching him, he remembers the words he had written in his book, which, if you recall, he had heard from his friend. The important thing is that he remembers his friend telling him that the one who carried out this attack used a weapon called Proteus. So Mullen immediately holds a conference and announces through it that the investigation committee has currently reached the conclusion that the attack was not from another country and that the attack was a virus from the American government itself. It was the one who created it, but this virus was made for the American government to use in the interest of the state. However, the virus was hacked and spread by a terrorist organization called Mipers, and their weapon is called Proteus. But sir, after this conference, the whole world was shaken by what Mullen said because it literally made the government look terrible. Even Mitcher called him and told him that accusing the Russians was much simpler and better than what you did. Instead of us not knowing who these Reapers are, at least now, and in this way, you've turned the entire population against us. I hope you know what you're doing. And she hung up on him. But now she started talking with the head of intelligence. And he might have told her that Mullen could be on the right track as she found that there is a government program called Proteus, but he misunderstood it. Now he is giving her a lot of documents related to the government program called Proteus so that she can understand it and understand what he is talking about. Then, as usual, at the end, the music plays and Green attacks Mullen, my friend, and accuses Mullen of lying. And he says that there is nothing called Reapers in the first place, and they are just poor people being used as scapegoats. He also attacks Mullen now because he is currently issuing arrest warrants for everyone whose name is somehow linked to the Reapers. And just 13 days after Zero Day, my friend Mullen wakes up now to take his medication as usual. But he finds that the side effects include fainting, hallucinations, difficulty breathing, and blurred vision, so he throws away the medication and decides not to take it again at all. He goes straight to the committee headquarters, where he finds the head of intelligence in his office, who is very angry with him. He said to him, "Mullen, I hope you know exactly what you're doing, because you've made people think that their neighbors are literally terrorists and that they are the ones causing these problems." Mullen at that moment realizes that he is responsible for everything that is happening. At this moment, Mullen's new secretary, Secretary Valley, enters. By the way, Secretary Valley was also around during the days when she was the head of state, and she has come now to help him, especially after she herself requested this girl to assist Mullen because she trusts him a lot. The important thing is that Mullen welcomes her, and Valley leaves the office. A man comes in a little later, and as soon as he meets Mullen, he tells him that Annie's family confirmed to him that they buried their daughter, and surely they know their daughter, so they really buried her. However, my friend Mulana was not sure that the one they buried was really Annie, so he asks for confirmation, even if it means not exhuming the body. On the other side, Alex and the Oversight Committee were being attacked for not doing anything against the strange arrests that her father was conducting on anyone associated with the Reapers group. The head of Congress, Dreyer, told her that she must take a stand, since the public's perception of her father has changed, with 74% of the people now believing he is not right. The percentage has now dropped to 68%. And this was before Greenie announced that he had evidence proving that Mullen arrested a small child. That's why he is asking her to have her father provide an explanation for everything he has done. He called Roger, who is now sitting in shock from the picture he received on his phone, which proves he took $10,000 because of what he did with that truck and the file he handed over, which diverted all accusations away from the Russians. Meanwhile, he told her to say hello to him so he could arrange a meeting with her father. But he surprises her and tells her that he is not his secretary anymore, but rather Vale has taken his place and returned to work with him, taking his position. So she has to request all of this from Vale. Of course, Alex gets very upset because Vale, my friend, had previously tried to steal her mother's position and tried to make Mullen marry her. Anyway, that's not our problem. The important thing is that after all that happened, we find that Graham shows a video of the mother of the child whom Mullen had arrested. She's literally breaking down in tears, crying, and expressing her distress amid the controversy, saying that they have arrested her 17-year-old son. My friend, this video caused an uproar against Mullen. When Mullen saw this video, he told Carl to search for this child in any way possible and find him. But Carl told him that there were almost no children arrested at all. Mullen gets very angry as almost means he wasn't sure, so he tells him to make sure. Carl responds. Mullen returns to his office and watches Green as he is attacking him as usual. Green says that Mullen is a psychologically disturbed man and that children disappear around him. If he really wanted to protect the country, he would have arrested London because the stock market shares have increased significantly, especially after the attack that happened. Therefore, it was certain that he had taken into account that everyone's company shares dropped after what happened except his. At that time, Roger also went to Annie's grave and confirmed that she was indeed dead. He then called Mullen and informed him. As Roger was leaving, he met Mullen's friend who had given him information before and told him that Mullen was imagining certain things. Roger didn't understand what he meant, so he replied and said they are done, meaning they have taken Mullen down. That's why he wants you to tell him that he won't be able to win this battle, and it would be better for him to stay away as much as possible. After that, he left him in disguise and walked away without explaining anything. Mullen was now in a meeting with the committee leaders, and at that time Carl told him that the person who was transferring money to the Reapers was someone named Eric Hayes. We learn that Eric has been arrested and is currently being interrogated, but he refuses to confess to anything. Mullen now starts watching the interrogations himself, but he is not satisfied with the situation at all, so he takes Eric's criminal record and begins to read it. Then he goes to him personally to conduct the investigation. Immediately, Mullen threatened him and said, "Your friend Acer is living in a place nearby and the Immigration and Customs Agency has arrested him and he will be deported within 2 days. As for your father's dog grooming expenses, the state won't pay for them at all. Let's see how many weeks he can live after that before he dies. As for your son Charlie, I'm telling you that your student is addicted and your son will be taken to a care home. These are about 3 people you care about, and this is nothing compared to 3,000 and because of the zero-day attacks you were involved in. And now you have 10 minutes to confess everything or everything I mentioned will be executed." And now he leaves Alec devastated, my friend, overwhelmed by ego and fear, and walks away. Within 10 minutes now, by the way, there were protests outside in front of the committee's headquarters demanding the release of all detainees. And during this time, by the way, he was leaving the headquarters, and London sent some men to take his yacht to meet him there. And there, Roger learned that he was going to escape. But before he did, he explained to Roger that he was very angry with Green and the things he was doing. Consequently, he gave Roger incriminating photos of Green and asked him to give these photos to Mullen. But my friend, Roger refused because he knew that these photos might not be entirely real, but rather fabricated. Therefore, he didn't want to betray Mullen or put him in a bad position, considering what he had done before, but it was usually against his will because London threatened him. The next day, we see Alec confessing that the leader of the Reapers is named Leon, and that he gained a lot of followers. Mullen now learns from Carl that Alec also confessed that the idea of zero-day auto originally belonged to Leon. He was the one who provided all the money for the hackers and took the virus from them. He delivered this virus on a storage device to a farm. The strange thing is that Mullen, while watching this interrogation, noticed that Alec said a very famous phrase to Green the host, but it doesn't happen much about him because Carl told him that all the scoundrels love Green, so it's very possible that Eric is influenced by him. So Mullen now asks Carl to send forces to the farm that Eric mentioned, and indeed after a while, the forces arrive at the farm. After that, Roger returned again to the committee's headquarters, and these are the photos he took from London for Mullen. And we see in these photos, Eric in several photos with Green. It's clear in the photos that he is an old Green's admirer. Besides, there is a picture among the photos where Annie appears. He is surprised and asks Roger to investigate further behind Green. What's even stranger is that as soon as Roger left, Mullen started hallucinating to the point where he sees Green talking to him from the television itself. Anyway, after some time of all this talk, Valley and Carl come in and find out that they indeed have computers on the farm, but they are burned. However, there is a very good chance they can retrieve the data that was on them. Mullen is very happy about this, and at that moment, Roger comes in with papers proving that Eric was with Green on 17 different occasions. Valley, by the way, tells him that we can't do this because he is a famous person, and the whole world will turn against him, especially since he was against us regarding the arrests we were making. People will say we did it for that reason. Mullen is now determined, my friend, and despite everyone, he orders Carl to carry out the arrest. But on the same night, the forces raid Green's house, arrest him, and throw him in a cell. By the way, Mullen is watching this arrest operation from his headquarters. And while all this is happening, Roger was in Mullen's office and was now preparing some papers. By chance, he noticed Mullen's book. Of course, he was shocked and very surprised by the things Mullen had written inside it because they indicate, my friend, that Mullen truly suffers from hallucinations and has many severe mental issues. But in general, the next day, we find a crowd of people at one of the famous banks in America as the bank closed due to the zero-day attack. People want their money. So, the media held a conference and informed everyone that Congress agreed to freeze all bank transactions until they ensure that this attack won't happen again. And they reassure them that Mullen is close to discovering who carried out the zero-day attack and that there is a suspect named Green. The lesson, my friend, is that after this conference, Dreyer told her that Green didn't do anything. She replied that if Mullen knows something, he will contact her. She then entered her office and closed the door behind her. On the other side, Colin and Carl were interrogating Green, asking him about his connection to the Reapers and how they spread the malicious software that caused all the zero-day problems. At that time, Green, because he still didn't know who did all that, he told him casually, "I have nothing else to do, and I'll stay here all day because every minute I spend here, my audience grows more and more, and people love me and hate you." This provoked Mullen even more, and he told him, "You're just a despicable parasite," and left him. After that, Mullen went to meet with the rest of the judges, and what they know now is that Mitchell has blocked the way, and all the criticism is directed at him because he hasn't been able to solve the cases so far. Thus, the block isn't functioning like it used to, not to mention the chaos caused by arresting Green, whom the entire public loves. Also then, Green himself was sitting with his lawyer, very happy that his audience was growing outside. But the lawyer shocks him and asks him to confess to anything he knows. He shocked him even more by saying that he is not there as his lawyer because he isn't even allowed to appoint a lawyer. He is there just to convince him to confess, and if he doesn't comply, God help him, because if he doesn't say exactly what they want, he doesn't know what they might do to him. Of course, my friend Kareem gets very scared and decides to tell Carl everything he knows. So he confessed to him that he doesn't know anything about the zero-day attack or anything about their plan. But at the same time, he knows the names of some members because they used to attend the seminars he conducted. And as soon as he confessed and mentioned their names, those with him immediately arrested the people with those names. At this moment, Mullen sees a report about what is found on the farm, and it contains many names and mentions a Frogger radio device. When he hears about this device, he believes it is the one he saw Lyndon using to communicate with someone specific. So, understanding something important that we will know before that, the important thing currently is that after Mullen finished reading the report, he saw Kaider 6, who had previously requested to help and whom we mentioned has very high-tech capabilities and is wealthy. Since Mullen's situation is not the best, he decided to meet her and see how she might help him. But before that, she talks to him, and they learn that Proteus, which was mentioned earlier in the conference, is a neural weapon, not a cyber weapon. They also learn that she met one of the doctors who developed Proteus, and she learned from him all the symptoms that this weapon causes and wrote them down. So now, when Amuri reads these notes, he is shocked because all the symptoms listed, my friend, are exactly the same symptoms that were on his treatment that he was always taking. So he asks her, "Do you mean to say that Proteus was used on me?" She tells him now, sadly, yes, and advises him not to trust anyone because there is apparently a big problem. Meanwhile, at the same time, Roger had left and went to see the radio device, and he found out that the frequency for his communication is 1140. He went and bought a radio, returned home, set it to that frequency, and waited. Indeed, after a while, he hears two people talking in code on the radio at that frequency, so he quickly grabs a pen and paper and starts writing down everything they are saying. Meanwhile, my friend, Mullen had met with Keter and tried to persuade her to calm the people down a bit. Keter started to act arrogantly, telling him that she had offered to help him before, but he refused. Mullen didn't want to waste much time and thanked her. The next day, the money people had ran out, my friend. They were no longer able to withdraw any money from the banks because they had been closed for about a week. This literally caused a huge disaster, and people started raiding stores without any money. This situation made Mitchell talk to Mullen, asking him to resolve this issue quickly because people wouldn't tolerate it any longer. She literally gave him just one more day. But on the same night, Lyndon sent someone to threaten Roger, telling him that if he didn't find something to prove that Mullen was crazy, he would expose him in front of Alex. And he became anxious when he heard the threat and returned to the headquarters to get the book that proves Mullen is hallucinating. He went for it, but couldn't betray Mullen, his friend, and left it. He went to Alex upset and told her, "Tomorrow you will hear very bad news about me. It's true. But please forgive me." She was very surprised by his words. The man returned to his house. Then, the person Lyndon sent came to him and asked him about the book. The man told him that he couldn't betray Mullen. Then, the man got angry with him and his friend, and they injected Noah with heroin in his neck until he passed out. They drowned him in the bathtub until he died in a very sad scene. And when my friend learned all of this, he quickly went to Roger's house. As he was walking, he started to remember the day his son died before, which made him very sad. Especially now when he saw Roger's body. Along with the sadness happening, President Mitchell is now appearing in a conference, reassuring people that the block will start working again. She now leaves Dreyer to answer all the people's questions. The first thing Dreyer said was that Mullen refused to justify the arrests he made, and he also said that he will let his wife, Shill, justify his actions in front of Congress, and very soon. Anyway, my friend, the next day, Mullen releases Green after all these confessions were made, and when Green was released, he couldn't speak at all due to the amount of torture he endured. In general, after a while, specifically, my friend, 23 days after the zero-day attack, Dreyer goes to meet Mitchell in the office and tells her he hopes Mullen resigns because Sheila, his wife's testimony, will ensure that. Because choosing Mullen from the start was a mistake, so we need to review the committee and appoint a suitable person as its head. As he was saying this, he mentioned that he was planning to become the head of the committee after Mullen resigns. This statement, my friend, provoked Mitchell, and she told him, "No, after we finish this zero-day case, we will completely dissolve the committee." Dreyer laughed and told her, "You don't have the authority to do that, and the public wants answers, and I'm the only one who can give them those answers if I become the head of the committee." In general, Dreyer then went to Congress with a group of representatives to, listen to Sheila, who is now swearing to tell the truth. Immediately after, she is asked if what her husband did was right. Sheila responds with examples she did in the past, just like Mullen, and literally, my friend, any question she was asked. Sheila would answer every question with great intelligence and using legal evidence. Of course, no one could actually take any rights or invalidate her arguments to the extent that she held the entire Congress responsible for everything happening to them, as they were the ones who initially agreed to form the committee in the first place. The conference ended, and Mullen was watching from the committee's headquarters, amazed by his wife, especially since Melissa was now reading people's reactions to Sheila's statements. Consequently, you could say that Sheila delivered an ideal performance and the timing worked in Mullen's favor. After everything that happened, Mullen goes to attend Roger's funeral. He starts reminiscing about his son Nick, remembering the times he used to argue with him to stop using drugs. Not only that, but after the funeral, Mullen goes to see Roger and ends up crying heavily over him because Roger was literally like a son to him. After all this sadness, Mullen returns to his office to write his resignation from the committee. And he finds Roger's envelope. Inside, he finds the code Roger used to listen to on the radio, along with some information about London. When Mullen learns this information, he postpones his resignation and goes to the committee immediately. He starts investigating London and discovers that London has been taking advantage of the situation all these past days to his advantage, as the photos he sent with Roger were fake, and he sent them just to get rid of Green because he attacked him in his program. From here, Mullen tunes the radio to frequency 1140, so he can decode the message that Roger had heard before. After some struggle with the code expert, they finally manage to decode it and understand the meaning of the sentences being said. Consequently, They found out that these people were actually behind the Sword Day attack. Based on this, Mullen and Valley went to Mitchell with a report on what happened, but Mitchell shocked him by saying, "You're too late. I promised Congress that you would resign today and Dreyer would take your place. However, I won't fulfill that promise and will give you one more day to arrest these people." Mullen was very happy at that time and returned to the committee to continue the investigation. As soon as he got back, he started using the radio to communicate with these people himself. He contacted each one of them to lure them in. Indeed, he managed to communicate with them using code and told them the address where they were supposed to meet. Mullen then sent a large force to that address. After a while, a strange person appeared there, and the committee was able to identify this person. His name turned out to be Blake, and he worked for many tech companies, including Kaider's own company. As soon as Mullen found this out, he ordered the forces to arrest him and instructed Carl to go and arrest Kaider as well. Carl took the forces and went to Kaider's house, asking her to surrender. However, Kaider was scared and tried to stall them. She opened the door directly and started filming the forces at her doorstep. She said that Mullen was now using violence to arrest her and that he had been mentally unstable since his son died. She closed the door, but afterward, she tried to contact the people who initiated the zero-day attack via radio. However, none of them responded to her at all, which made her very angry because she realized they had abandoned her. And not only that, my friend, these people sent others to Kaider's house to shoot at Carl, and a literal war broke out between them. This is exactly what happened, with gunfire exchange between Carl's team and Kaider's forces, who were going crazy because they didn't want this to happen at all. But during the attack, unfortunately, Carl gets shot, but overall, Kaider is also arrested after all that happened. Mullen holds a press conference and explains everything, revealing that Kaider is connected to the attack that occurred. He mentions that an investigation will still be conducted with him because of the company. The shocking part is that Alex, after learning this and realizing that her father is close to uncovering the truth, she called Dreyer, terrified, asking him to cancel the conference where her father Mullen was supposed to speak. But he told her they couldn't talk over the phone. We are then hit with a huge shock because we see Alex taking out a radio device and setting it to frequency 1140 to talk to Dreyer, which means Alex is Dreyer, the partner with Kaider in the attack that happened. Meanwhile, at the same time, Kaider was in her cell. And this news, by the way, is spreading everywhere. Alex was terrified and went to Congress to see Dreyer and asked him if they were the ones who killed Kaider. Fajrio, one of the gang members who carried out the attack, told her yes, because it would be better if the evidence stopped with her. Alex got very angry and told them that Mullen wouldn't stop here because she knows very well that Kaider wasn't alone. She got angry at Dreyer because he didn't know how to execute his plan after they carried out their zero attack. She asked them to confess for their own good because their situation was getting worse and worse. But Dreyer reassured her and told her that everything was under control. On the other hand, Mullen was at home and learned from Tim, the tech leader, that the attack was carried out through Kaider's program, which is present on 80% of American phones. After that, a major update was released in all the public hacking files. The issues with these files transferred from the phones to anything nearby and connected to them, whether via Bluetooth or any other means. Consequently, there were widespread problems, and he began to suspect that, in fact, it would be very difficult for Kaider to do all this alone. And in the end, what would she gain from it? So he suspects that she is not alone, especially since after Mullen ended the call with the team, the electricity went out in the entire country, my friend, just like what happened literally during the zero-day attack. But the difference this time is that it didn't come back after a minute. Mullen's guards came and took him and his wife in the car because there might be a terrorist attack on him by the protesters in front of the gate. The problem was that when they reached the gate, the protesters surrounded the car and attacked Mullen. They even tried to pull him out of the car, but the head of the security forces intelligence came and rescued him. But the head of intelligence quickly spread news that Mullen had died, and this news reached Dreyer, who was very happy. However, the head of intelligence, while riding with Mullen, found out that Dreyer was the mastermind behind all of this and swore to him that no one uses Brodius against him. Mullen replied that these hallucinations come to him from the constant pressure he's under, nothing more. In the end, the head of intelligence took Sheila to Valley's house to stay with her until the case is resolved and the electricity returns. Meanwhile, Mullen went to meet his daughter Alex and told her that because he knows that Dreyer, her boss, is the mastermind behind the attack, and thus she could have any involvement. Alex told him she was sad and anxious because Kaider said she just wanted to scare people for 1 minute, and at that moment, people would listen to us in anything we wanted. She agreed with Dreyer and cried afterward, swearing to her father that she didn't know 3,200 people would die in that minute. She kept justifying Kaider's actions to herself. Mullen got angry with her, and she, sobbing, told him, "I'm sorry, tell me what to do, and I'll do it." Meanwhile, the electricity returned to the entire country, and the news of Mullen's death spread everywhere. Dreyer, of course, took advantage of this opportunity and said a few nice words about Mullen to support himself and take his place on the committee. Later, he gets into his car, very pleased with Mullen's death, but he is shocked when he finds Mullen calling him, asking to meet him. and they meet somewhere, and Mullen told him, "Get ready, as you will be imprisoned when I testify against you at the conference." Mullen then threatened Dreyer, saying, "You'll have a noose around your daughter's neck." He then left. The next day when Mullen returned home, Sheila came to talk to him and said she wasn't ready to lose anyone else. Additionally, the president came to Mullen's office and spoke with him, informing him that now anything he writes in the committee's report will be believed by the people. If this truth would lead his daughter to ruin. This truth might make the people feel betrayed, as Dreyer, the head of Congress, turned out to be the mastermind behind the zero-day attack. Also, Mullen's daughter, whom the nation once loved, was involved. My friend Mullen was convinced by all this talk. Meanwhile, he saw his daughter breaking down in tears as she was scared, upsetting him. He started writing the report that night and sent it the next day to Dreyer, who was very happy when he read it because Mullen didn't mention him. But time passes, and now everyone is eagerly awaiting the conference where Mullen will clarify everything related to the zero-day attack. Currently, this conference begins with the full attendance of Congress members. Mullen starts reading the report he prepared, and as he reads it, he begins to feel confused and notices different words written, like "Mullen is the killer," and so on. Mullen is bewildered by these words. He remembers his son and suddenly decides to tell the truth while crying. Mullen said that the people in power abandoned all of us, and my daughter was among those people. He then pulls out a written note from Alex indicating that she would take her own life. After that, Mullen officially announced, "My friend, that the zero-day attack was orchestrated by Dreyer, the head of the committee, and not by him alone." He then named all the people who helped Dreyer, which of course drove Dreyer mad, and he insulted Mullen. But Mullen left amidst cheers from all the members of Congress and applause and greetings from anyone who watched the conference, as almost the entire world saw that conference. And with that, Mullen completed his mission and thus returned to live his routine life again. Unfortunately, he had lost his son in the past, and now he lost his daughter, but at least he managed to preserve his honor until the last moment, which he was afraid of losing from the start when he decided to take on such a position. But generally, he didn't lose it, and the series ends, my friend, and that's it.